Okay, standing and centering cues. So thinking about the body as the building blocks of life, starting with the feet, working all the way up to our head. So rocking back and forth on the feet, so bring the feet together or hip width apart. Lift the toes, spread them out, lower them down. Lift the toes, spread them out, lower them down. Think of a triangle under each foot. We call these the foot centers. So we imagine that we have a triangle under the balls of the feet. So we have the ball of the first foot center under the ball of the first toe, the second foot center under the ball of the fourth and fifth, and then the heel, and together they make a triangle. So if it's comfortable, close your eyes. If not, keep them open. Feeling the ball of the first foot center, so ball of under the first toe. Feeling the ball under the fourth and fifth toe, so second foot center, and then feeling the heel. So rocking back and forth to your first foot center under the ball of the big toe, second foot center under the ball of fourth and fifth, and the heel. And then just stop wherever you are and just notice, are you leaning on the outside of the foot? Are you leaning on the inside of the foot? Are you leaning on the back? Are you leaning forward? Can we find an equal balance across all of the 6 foot centers across both feet? So a little bend in the knees, a little bounce, and just lift the toes. Feel the connection in the feet and try and kind of balance your energy across them. And that gives us a really good foundation for our posture, for our standing. Okay, the next centering cue, bring the heels together and imagine that we have a North Pole, call it the North Pole, right down the center of our body. So we have that kind of center fulcrum where our energy comes together in our body, and we try to gather that energy up right into our center. So the second cue is our magnets. So between our ankles, so imagine that you're, close your ankles together, try and squeeze your hand with your ankles. We imagine we have a magnet there, a magnet between our knees. So squeeze your hand with your knees and then keep squeezing and start drawing your hand up your leg to zip up the inside leg, and then the top magnet is the top of our inner thigh. So we're drawing that energy together. And that it helps us with a lot of the movements that we will do in Pilates. And I will mention magnets and start to engage the magnets. So many of us, we lean our energy on the outside leg, so we can get quite a lot of tension in the outside leg, or we can cause a bit of displacement in knee pain, knee discomfort. So we want to work on the inside leg. So activating the inside leg to balance the outside leg, and starting to bring our energy in to strengthen our body and to help with our posture. Okay, the next one, our hips, our pelvis. So place your hand on the top of your hips, so the ASIS, anterior superior iliac spine it's called. And so this is what we would sort of know as our hip bones, but our greater trochanter, which is the top of our thigh bone, connects into our pelvis, into our hips, sort of just on the side of the widest part of our hips, just below that. So if you find your ASIS, so the top, the crescent of your pelvis, so what we would call our hips, so we would place our hands on our hips, and then find the greater trochanter. So just press your hips from side to side, and it's that big bony bit. So we call these our side bolts, and this is really helpful for when we're moving through space, especially in standing work with Pilates. So if we were doing some bar work and I had everyone in first position, and I would say send your side bolt away from the midline, from our center, and that helps to get that proprioception of movement. So we have our side bolts, and then we have our front bolt on the pubic bone and our back bolt on the sacrum. So our front and back bolt, take a little bend in the knees, a little plie. My pelvis is tilted slightly forward, which is which would be more common in female pelvises. And so you can see this little tilt. I'm now dropping the tailbone, the sacrum, dropping that down, bringing the front bolt up. And now I'm balancing, so I'm doing inverted commas, balancing my pelvis. So I'm setting it into a balanced or neutral position. You'll hear that in Pilates. Basically where the sit bones, the bony bits at the bottom of on our bum, when we sit down we feel them, that they're pointing right down. And it allows then for the spine to sit nicely on top and all the rest of the bones to sit on top of the pelvis. So we want to find a nice ease of movement when we work with the pelvis in relation to our bones, our thigh bones and our spine. So one fist on your sacrum, your back bolt, one fist on your front bolt. And I want you to tuck the pelvis. So we're dropping the tailbone, like we're tucking our tailbone under, like we're a scared lion. Dropping that tailbone under and bringing the front bolt up. Now I want you to center the pelvis, which means the front and back bolt are in line with each other. If we had an imaginary, I always think of the lightsabers from Star Wars. And now I want you to tilt the pelvis forward. So we're dropping the front bolt, lifting the back one. We're sticking our tail out. We're now a happy lion. And we're tilting the pelvis forward. Another way of thinking of this is imagine that place your hands on your hips again. Imagine that it's a bowl of soup or a bowl of your favorite cereal, however is appropriate for you. And if we hold the pelvis balanced, we keep everything in the bowl. If we tilt the pelvis forward, we're spilling the contents of the bowl out forward. We bring it back to center, keeping that bowl nice and centered. And then if we tuck the tailbone under, we're spilling out of the bowl from the back of the pelvis. So I hope some of these help to get a bit of proprioception in the pelvis. Okay. Our next cue, my favorite, the Girdle of Strength by Ron Fletcher, or the Powerhouse by Joseph Pilates. And if you place find your rib bones, the bottom of your ribs, and we're making a bit of a top of a triangle. And then if you find your hip bones, so your ASIS again, so get your thumb on your ribs and your middle finger on your ASIS. And that space in between, the only bone is our spine, and this is where the core of our core muscles are. And the stronger that they are, the more capacity they have, the more they're able to engage and work here to support and release here. So we have this lovely big diamond shape that comes all the way down to the pubic bone, up to the hips, and then up to the rib cage. And that diamond shape, we have a lot of muscles that go from north to south, east to west, and then crosses over in a diagonal. And that is a lot of, the work that would be classed as core work, even though everything that we're doing. But this is the center, which is why it's called the Girdle of Strength or the Powerhouse. So to help kind of get our heads around this one, I want you to bring your feet together. And I want you to reach your arms up, and you're going to reach for a ladder that's just dangling. And you want to reach up to try and kind of grip at the base of the ladder. One hand is reaching to the other. One of my first clients and friends, she said, it's like milking a really tall cow. And actually, I think I should use that analogy because it does make more sense. So we're reaching up. You've got your magnets connecting. Your foot centers are equally connecting to the floor. And now we're really lifting the top half of the body away from the bottom half. And I want you to take an inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. And again, as you exhale, you're breathing out through a straw, pressing the air out. And keep doing that. I'm just going to point here as we're exhaling and pressing the air out, it starts to naturally gather the muscles in the core, in the girdle of strength in, and gathers them up and in and starts to activate them. And we are creating length, creating space in the girdle of strength. And the reason I'm getting you to reach for this really tall cow is to lift this upper hemisphere of our body off the lower hemisphere, engage these muscles, and then let go of the tall cow without sinking back down into our hips. So we're scooping the belly in, using that breath, which is our next center, which is our next cue, sorry. And I want you to place your hands on either side of your ribs and take an inhale through the nose. Press your hands away with your breath. Press the air out through a straw. Press your hands away with your inhale. Press the exhale out through a straw. Keep doing that. Inhale, send the energy that way. And now exhale, you're growing tall. So you've got a puppet string on the top of your head. And as you exhale, that puppet string's pulling you up, 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 up. And that belly, that core should start to engage. And again. Scooping the belly in towards hugging the spine. We want to give ourselves a big hug with that exhale. And again. Growing tall, growing tall, growing tall. Every time you exhale, you grow more tall. One more. Okay, now I want you to breathe front to back. One hand on your chest, and just be mindful of my microphone. And one hand on your back. Breathing into your hands, so pressing your hands away like you did from the side. Press out, grow tall. Scoop that belly in. Press your hands away. Last one. And relax your arms down by your side. Nice. All right. Our next centering cue is our shoulders. So let your arms dangle down by your side, bring your feet together, scoop your magnets together, scoop the belly in, growing tall through the spine, centered pelvis, or just noticing where your pelvis is in space, because all of our pelvises are different. You have a string attached to the tip of your, tap the top of your shoulders, proprioception, tap, 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 wake, 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 hello. That bony bit at the top of your shoulders. Imagine there is a string attached to each, pulling up, puppet string, right? We're all puppets. And relax the shoulders down. Now, without using your arms to push your shoulders up, imagine that whoever's got the puppet strings is pulling those puppet strings, and the puppet strings are lifting, 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 but your arms are relaxed. So the energy is coming from above, we're not pushing up from the bottom. And then relax the shoulders down. And again, follow with the breath or lead with the breath. Inhale, those shoulders float up towards your ears. Exhale, they relax down. You're still growing tall. And again, we're lifting them off of the ribs. We're creating space in the breath. 2 more. Ooh, crunch. 1 more. All right, if you can reach, I want you to tap your shoulder blades now. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Hello, shoulder blades. And if you can kind of connect to your shoulder blades or feel them in space. So we went up and down, we're now going to go forward and back. So the shoulders, they're going to round forward. So the shoulder blades are coming apart like an elevator door opening. And then now the shoulder blades are going to draw back together. Elevator door close and your shoulders come back. Back to center. Shoulder blades spread and you round the shoulders forward and center. Shoulder blades come together, drawing your shoulders back and center. One more time. Shoulder blades open, the shoulders round, and they come back to center. And then the shoulder blades close together, drawing your shoulders back and center. Nice. The last piece of the puzzle, our head. So place your hands on the back of your skull in that little kind of where the skull sort of comes up and together. So we feel those bony bits and then that bit at the back. And imagine that so start pressing in and start rotating your own head with your fingers. And feel the bones of your skull. So feel the way your skull sits on top of your spine. And we're just going to do some rotation of the skull on the spine. So thinking of it as swivel. You know those bobblehead toys that people have on their dashboard, on their cars? And it's a giant head and it kind of bobbles. So think of that. So as we rotate the head to the side, we're not taking everything with us. We are keeping that spine nice and centered. We're drawing that energy up and in, and we're rotating the skull on top of the spine and center. We're going to look to the other side, and the skull rotates on top of the spine and center. Look where you're going, rotate and center. Look where you're going and center. Feel those foot centers still connecting, those magnets. Scoop the belly in. Notice where your bones are in space. Okay, so we went side to side. We're going to go up and down. So drop the chin. And I like this analogy, but I actually have no idea if it works for other people. But you know, in the first Harry Potter or the second Harry Potter, where Voldemort's face was on the back of Professor, I can't remember his name, his head. So instead of the idea of kind of dropping her head down and throwing her head back and the spine going with it, imagine that you have a face on the back of your head. It doesn't have to be Voldemort. So imagine that you have a face on the back of your head, and that face is looking up. And then that face looks forward, and that face looks down. And just notice if that changes your how you move the skull. Looks up, looks forward, that face looks down. One more time. Start center. So we drop the chin, back face looks up, looks forward, lift the eyes, back face looks down. Very good. And just shake that out. Relax it all. And that is your 7 standing and centering cues. Our foot centers, our magnets, our pelvis, our girdle of strength, the breath, the shoulders, the head and neck. Thank you for watching.